Hey, what's going on, everybody? Uh, First and foremost, let's go ahead and get started. Uh, Make sure you like this video. Make sure you share this video. Make sure you comment on this video. Talk to me nice. And make sure you subscribe to this channel. Under the description, if you got questions or you want to do booking, simply just email me at thoughtofleandre@gmail.com. Okay? So I wanted to talk openly to you tonight because there's some things that when I experience them, I just want to kind of bring them to the table and talk about it a little bit. And what I wanted to talk about today is a myriad of things, but I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about staying the course. Okay. Sometimes things happen in your life and it sets you off track. Okay. It could come from some decisions that you made or trust that you had put into people, places, and things that didn't turn out well for you. And you sit back and you collect yourself and you think, okay, this is my new game plan for me to get back on track. And you got to be careful because when you get back on track or when you are getting back on track, there's going to be some temptations that come along the way. Okay? You may say, all right, I'm going to do A, B, and C, and then D, E, and F may come along, and it may be tempting, it may be enticing, it may be lucrative, it may be whatever heartstrings that need to be tugged to get your attention. That's when it'll come into the form. And you have to remember that your enemy knows your playbook. So they know your tendencies, they know your habits, they know what you dislike, what you like. They know what you, and I say they because it's more than one entity. So they just understand you. They study you. Now, when I was in college playing football, I started learning about how to break down film. And when I was breaking down film, it was not only about your opponent that you had to learn, understand their tendencies, what they do, uh, cues that they give you that they're going to do a particular thing, and hours of film of studying that so you could get a sense of what their habits are. But you had to do the same thing to yourself. That's probably just as important. Okay. And the great ones make everything look the same so that you don't have any indicators of what they're doing. For instance, like a wide receiver, he may line up a certain way when he's going to run a certain route. Or sometimes you'll see wide receivers when they feel like they're going to get the ball. You may see something. You may notice their enthusiasm. You may notice a pep in their step. You may notice they get jittery or whatever the case may be or whatnot. Things that you pick up on a player that you have to face. And so being when you're in the defense and you have to react, it's very important that you understand these tendencies that the offensive player has because the offense has the advantage when everything's even, he's leaving. Okay, when everything's even, he has the advantage, and your opponent has the advantage when everything is even, especially if your opponent is on the offense. And so sometimes in your life, you're on the defense. And when you're on the defense, sometimes you have to study. You have to study. And then sometimes if you don't understand what your tendencies are and what you're doing, if you don't understand those things, the issue can be Your opponent picks up on those things and will have an adjustment that they will make to give them an even more advantageous situation for themselves. So you have to be on your P's and your Q's in your life about what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it. You have to know the who, what, when, where, why, who, what, when, where, why, and how about you. Because what you're projecting may not be what you intend to project, but you're projecting whether you are conscious of you projecting or not. Ever been in a situation where you said something to someone and they took it the wrong way? And you say, but I didn't intend for it to be that way. But the reality is you projected it that way. And when you go back and you reflect, if you're honest, you will see how the person came away with the conclusion that you projected yourself a certain way, even though that wasn't your heart's intentions. Of course, you don't want the enemy to know what you're doing. And I'm not saying everything is enemy and everything is enemy and ally. But what I'm saying is you don't want your opponent to know what you're doing. You want at least you want the opposite person to get what you're trying to project. My mom used to say to me, she'd say, son, smile, because your presence can be overwhelming sometimes, and you can come off looking a certain way, even though that's not your intention. So, and sometimes that works to my advantage, but then other times I don't need that projection because I'm trying to get something. If I'm in sales, which I am, and I have this overly masculine projection, or whatever the case may be, masculine projection, masculine energy in a room with other masculine energy around each other put one on the defense. They become very guarded. That's why when you have that's why if you have a man operating in his masculine energy and he is in a room full of feminine energy, he's usually happy, he's usually at peace, he's usually real smiley face, because that is what feminine energy will do to a man operating in masculinity. Now put him in a room full of men and he'll get defensive. He'll become colder. He'll be more so on alert. And so you have to understand the room. You have to be able to read the room when you go in, and you have to understand what kind of energy you're dealing with and how you can operate. And I'm not saying that, that a man should operate in feminine energy. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is the projection and how hard or how much you're projecting something is very important when you're entering a room or you're dealing with certain kinds of people. If I enter a room full of men and we are trying to transact a business deal, I may not, in certain situations, want to project myself as overly masculine. Rather, sometimes I may want to just relax, and I may want to let my works or let my knowledge speak and give them a sense of I'm not here to be confrontational, because men are like this, okay? They are like this. And when they're dealing with each other, they deal with each other like this. Even when they're friendly, they still have a hardness about them when they interact and deal with each other. It's not like when men deal with women. When men deal with women, I'm not saying that we're not hard up, but what I'm saying is you're going to handle a flower differently than you handle a brick. You understand? And women by nature are flowers. Men by nature are bricks. When we start talking about your path, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, just go ahead and understand that most folks aren't going to understand why you're doing what you're doing. And even if they say they understand or they kind of get what you're doing, they don't really understand. They may comprehend it, but they don't understand what you're trying to do. Nobody's going to understand what you're trying to do. No more than there is no two fingerprints that are the same. You can have fingerprints that look similar, but there's still differences. There's a uniqueness. When you have your plan, you have to do your plan. Go forward with your plan. If something else comes along and distracts it, something else. Let's just say you want to go and work a job, and somebody comes along and they offer you a business opportunity. Sometimes what you're doing, the distraction can come in the form of help just to take you off of what you're doing. You know, it's kind of like if you're getting hated on for what you're doing, you might be doing something right, because nobody hates mediocrity. Everybody likes mediocrity in terms of for other people. If you're the average Joe, that's the opportunity for most people to like you. But if you're elite, man, folks are going to stop liking you, because nobody, people will root for you to get to the mountaintop, but nobody likes a top dog. Nobody likes a top dog. Even when they don't have a reason, they will Bluetooth and try to pick words and thoughts and things of that nature to try to hate what you're doing or derail what you're doing, because just misery loves company. Misery loves company. Set out your plan and do what you're supposed to do. And don't get off your path for nothing. Just be very, very, very stubborn about what it is that's in your heart to do, because you're going to have to answer for your actions on what you do. And you don't want your actions to be what somebody else told you to do. All right. But like I say before, make sure you cleaned out so you can get clarity about what you're supposed to do. So you're listening to the right voice, because you can allow voices to get in your head and guide you into doing things that are wrong for you or bad for others. Get your schedule, stick to what you're supposed to stick to, do what you're supposed to do, and don't waver from what you're supposed to do. Just don't even listen to nobody. Just go ahead and do what you got to do. Do what you're supposed to do. And even if you hit challenges or whatever the case may be, just be excellent in your moment. Just one moment at a time. Just do what you're supposed to do. Say what you're supposed to say. Think what you're supposed to think, and be who you're supposed to be, because it's critical, because the outcome depends on how you perform in those moments. You know, moments strung together creates the story, the puzzle. Moments are like puzzle pieces. One of them doesn't seem like a lot, but when you start putting them together, you see the picture. You see the big picture. And that's how important it is to make righteous decisions in your moment, doing what you're supposed to do in that moment. Now, have you ever seen a finished puzzle piece? Like, have you ever seen a finished puzzle piece with a couple of pieces missing? Yes, you can still get the picture from a couple of pieces missing. But you want to have that 4K high definition clarity about what it is that you're doing. And it's about making sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do in your moments. So if you got to take that job that you don't want to take, just be the best person that you can be at that job. Be the most infectious person that you can be in a positive way at that job. Give off positive energy. Make other people feel good that you're around and doing what you're supposed to do. Be encouraging, be uplifting, be whatever you need to be in that particular moment. But just because that's not where you want to be, that doesn't mean that you don't have to be excellent in that moment of where you are. Be excellent in the moment of where you are, so that when you go where you're going, you take from that situation what you need to take to graduate so that you can get to the next level and thrive. It's one thing to be able to be presented an opportunity with the door, but it's who you are and what you are that's going to determine your stay. Stop asking for things that you're not ready to ask for. You ask for doors to be open that you're not prepared to go through. And when those doors are given to you and you knock and it's open to you, you're ill prepared when you get inside and you make a fool of yourself. So don't make a fool of yourself. Prepare to be where you want to be. Whatever it is that you want, you have to prepare like you have it, so that when you get it, it is as seamless as possible. Because what you're asking for sometimes may not even be what the destination is supposed to be. It may just be another stepping stone. And in your mind, because you can't fathom the big picture, you are only being able to see what you can see. It's like a reed chart. There are a bunch of letters of different sizes up there, okay? Those letters are the letters at the bottom that are very small. But can you see all of those letters? If you can't see all of those letters, that means you're not close enough to see all of those letters. That means sometimes in your life, you're not close enough to see your vision. You're not close enough to see what it is where you're going to be going. But you got to be able to see what you can see and master what you see. And don't try to see something that you can't see. Don't try to pretend that you know don't try to pretend when you look at the chart of your life that you know what you're seeing. If you have to be honest with what you can see and what you can't see. If you can't see it, then you have to say, okay, then I have to get closer to the purpose of being able to see what I need to see. Everything ain't for you to see from your sight line. What you see is what you see, and do the best you can with what you see. Do the best you can with what you got. Now, the thing about what you actually see and what you envision, what you envision is you can see everything. But what you actually see, you have limitations. And the reason that your actual sight is limited is because that is your capacity of what you can concentrate on. It's like having a room with 2 people in it and having a room with 200 people in it. There is no way you can concentrate on 200 people better than you can concentrate on 2 people. This is why, literally, you're supposed to make sure that you keep your inner circle small. You need to have peripheral vision. So even when you're not actually looking at the people in your room, you're still supposed to have a feel for the people in your room. You're still supposed to know where everything is and what's going on. And that's your capacity. So you have to be in tune with yourself to understand what your visual capacity is, what your feel capacity is, what your smell capacity is. Listen, a pie can be in front of my face and I can smell it. A pie can be 20 feet away, I can smell it. But I can't smell it as good from 20 feet as I can from 1 feet. So you have to understand that whatever your capacity is, accept that capacity, do the best that you can with that capacity. And who knows, if you are if you are obedient and you do your due diligence with what your capacity is, then you may be granted expansion to be able to handle more. And you don't know that that's the key. The key to getting an expansion of reality is being able to do what you're supposed to do with what is in front of you. How could you possibly bring yourself to the conclusion to ask for something that is greater than what you have, and you're not good with what you have? You don't do what you're supposed to do with what you have. Don't lie. Don't lie. Lies are only going to get you by, but lies aren't going to get you all the way through. Lies are just justifications for doing whatever it is that you're doing. If you're doing something that's not right, you don't want to you don't want justification for that. You want accountability for that. Accountability is the realignment of self. Accountability will have you align your wheels. You ever drove in a car and just taking your hand off the wheel and it steers one way or another? Even though you have set it to go straight, it starts doing this, or it starts going the other way, one of the two ways. The reason why is because the alignment is off. And no, you shouldn't be in the car driving with no hands on the wheel. But if your car is not in a line, you're going to do harm to the car long term if you don't get it realigned. And sometimes in our lives, no, not regularly in our lives, the bumps and the bumps and the bruises that happen to us throws us off, and we need to have realignment. So are you going to align yourself to what your purpose is and what you're supposed to do? Are you going to listen to the naysayers out there that doesn't have a clue about you or have limited information about you, and listen to them for advice so that you can do what they think is best for you? How can somebody have a whole life and be dedicated to knowing your life? Like, living your life is enough. Living your life is enough. You can't, how can you wash somebody else's face and you haven't washed yours? And that's what a lot of people do. A lot of people can see other people's dirt and tell them, hey, you need to wash. But they can't see their dirt because they ain't paying no attention to themselves. And some of you have these friends out here that voluntarily and involuntarily lead you astray. And you want to forgive and you want to forget. And forgiveness is great. But when somebody shows themselves with you and creates the error with you, it's nothing wrong with forgiving them and wanting to still rock with them. But you're a fool if you don't make the necessary adjustments and recalibrate with that person. For instance, if you buy your friend a house and your friend agrees to pay you rent, and you did this for your friend because you love your friend, you bought your friend a house, they agreed to pay the rent, and then they don't pay the rent, and then it sets you back. Well, you don't have to drop that person being your friend. Just don't buy them a house anymore. Just don't get in on that level with them. See, some friends are good for being friends, but sometimes we want our friends to be more than just friends. So we may go into business with them, or we may have things that we do with them. And those types of things can put too much of a burden on the relationship, and it can ruin the relationship. Now, some people you can do that with, but some people you can't. I have good friends that they are good friends. But when it comes to business, they are not good. And I've done business with my friends, and they have stood me up. They hung me out to dry, so on and so forth. Some of it may have been intentional and some of it may not have been intentional, but it doesn't match. It doesn't matter. The key word in intentional and unintentional is intent. That means that they are doing it. Okay. They are doing it. It's just happening, and they may not want it to happen. Me and my friends can sit around, and say, hey, listen, let's start a t-shirt business. We can make a lot of money, and say, man, that's a great idea, man. I'm down for making some money. Let's go. And then one of the friends has a problem with being on time. One of the friends have a problem with not doing what they say, not doing what they said they're going to do. Another one of those friends may just have poor skills. And you see, now if you continue to have that type of dealings with them, that's going to have a spillover effect. And then it's going to hurt relationships. So before you deal with somebody, you need to make sure that you understand what's required of what you're doing, and if that person has shown that they can do those things. If they've shown that they can do those things, then okay, you can consider doing business with them. But if that person, either through experience or through what you've seen of them, have shown to not handle themselves in a certain light, then you can't do that. For instance, one of the things that you have to be able to do to be good in business is you have to be punctual. You got to be available. How could you be in a situation where your peers are depending on you, and the best ability that you have is availability, and you're not good at that? You should go off onto the side and work on punctuality, from the smallest to the largest thing. Like, if you're on time, you're late. And if you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. How about showing up to where you're supposed to be before it's time to show up? A lot of times when you go to doctor's offices or you go to any kind of business, sometimes if there's paperwork involved and you have a 9 o'clock appointment, they may tell you to arrive at 8:30 or 8:45 so you can get started on the paperwork. Because they want everything done, and they want the time slot for you to be about what they want it to be about. So if you have a 30-minute time slot with someone, and you're spending 15 minutes, 20 minutes doing paperwork, then you just cut into 2/3 of the time, purposeful time that was used for whatever it was used for, because you're filling out paperwork. So one of the things that I had to do when I wanted to be better at getting on time is, if somebody said, hey, listen, we have an appointment at 10 o'clock, I would set it for 9 o'clock. And what happened in the beginning is I had this overwhelming sense of feeling like I was running late, because I was like, oh my God, I got to. So if somebody set an appointment out for me 2 weeks from now and they said it's 10 o'clock and I put it at 9 o'clock, I would actually forget it was 10 o'clock. I would show up at 9:45, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm so late. And they say, you're not late, you're on time. I said 10 o'clock. And I would be like, oh, okay, cool. All right. And then what it taught me how to do is, it taught me how to objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. If I didn't wait for things to come to my door, I would be better prepared at doing things that I was supposed to do. It's the difference between making a payment on making an early payment, making a payment on time, and making a payment late. The great ones make the payment early. If you're trying to make sure that you show up on time for everything, Oh, it's 10 o'clock. I got 5 minutes. I'm going to chill. Like, what is that? What is it? Showing up to something on time. Oh, it's 10 o'clock and I'm walking through the door. That's not impressive. That's not impressive. Impressive is showing up 15 minutes early, 20 minutes early, 30 minutes early, depending on what it is. But typically the hallmark is 15 minutes. All right, if you can show up 15 minutes early to something. So punctuality is the best thing for business. That's like numero uno. Like if you're very skilled, if you're limited in your skills, we can work with you if you are showing up on time. So if you tell somebody that you're supposed to be if you agree, so when you're dealing with one or more people and you agree to show up at a certain time, hey, look, let's all get together at this time. If you agree to showing up at a certain time, one of the best ways that you can project respect to somebody is to not only be there and not miss it, but to be early. Think about that. Think about if you call a meeting with 10 people and they show up and it's at 10 o'clock and they show up at 9:30, all of them. All of them. What is your feelings about the people that show up at 9:30? It says it says that they value my time. They feel like what I'm doing is important. A lot of questions are answered with punctuality because you're not going to sit there and wonder if people are, you're not going to sit there and wonder if the people that are there are interested if they're early. But now, take that same situation and they come in. You got 10 people. You say we need to be there at 10 o'clock. And you got 2 or 3 of them strolling in 15 minutes late, 20 minutes late. How are you going to feel? This is what happens with you. Nobody's exempt from this. So this is what happens with you. You're going to sit there and say, they're late. And then when you listen to them and you say, hey, man, meeting started at 10 o'clock. Sometimes the way they react, it gives you the level of respect that they say, my bad, and just carry on. That says, I don't respect your time. And time is the most precious thing that we have. So for folks, I don't give them a pass. Now, folks that are closer to me, I give them a pass. I might give them more of a pass than other people, but don't take my kindness for weakness. So if it's somebody that's like really, really close to me and they're late and I say, hey man, what happened? My bad. And they don't seem to want to give me any kind of explanation or something like that, I say, okay, no problem. It's all good. But in my head, I'm like, this person doesn't respect my time. And if you don't respect my time, you don't respect me. You have to have the same feelings about people that don't respect your time. Because it's basically a trickle down effect. So punctuality is something that you have to do with your business when you're dealing with people. Another thing that you have to do when you're dealing with people is you have to look people in their eyes when given the opportunity. Now, if you're not on the phone or whatever the case may be, if you're on the phone with somebody or whatnot, that's one thing. But it's your body language. It's your eyes. And whatever your eyes are fixated on is what your body language is going to be fixated on. My family and I go out and we walk. Okay. When we go out and we walk, we have our littlest child. You have to hold her hand because she's always looking everywhere and and wherever her head goes, her body goes. And it's just like, baby, come on. And okay. And even she has an innate knowing of this. And so what she'll do is, if you correct her one too many times, she'll reach for her mom's hand because she still wants to browse, but she wants to stay on path. And it gives her an opportunity when she holds mom's hand to look wherever she wants, because mom's going to keep her balance. Mom's going to keep her going in the right direction. And so some of you need hand holding. And if that's what you need, that's what you need. But you need to be honest about what you need. Some of you need that. But you must practice keeping your head straight and keeping your eyes focused. That's why you'll see sometimes, you'll see sometimes in the news, when there's an interview, the reporter is really good at this. The reporter will look directly at the person. They may cut their eyes a little bit because that keeps them alert. Because staring at something for too long and you could get... So they carefully pan their eyes like that. And when they're doing that, and then they go. The reason why is because they want to convey to the other person that they are listening to them. And that has an impact on the person that's speaking, because the person that's speaking that knows they're being, that knows that the person is paying attention to them, that helps them settle into what they're saying. You ever been talking to someone and you know they're not paying attention, and it distracts you from really saying what you're trying to say or convey what you're trying to convey? It's because you know when somebody's paying attention to you or not. Now, when you're late or whatever the case may be, you're behind the 8 ball. And so what you do to show your remorse is, one of the things that you can do to show your remorse is, next time y'all have something, you are super early. Earlier than you should have been. So maybe maybe the thing to do is to get there 15 minutes early, or the next meeting you may be 30 minutes early. You have to respect is something that is from the beginning. Respect is not earned, it's given. But when respect is lost, guess what you have to do? You have to do extra to get some semblance of earning it back. You never quite get it back the same. You can get it close can be sometimes, but don't ever expect it to be back the same. Losing respect is the equivalent of dropping a glass on concrete. Okay? First of all, it is very difficult to pick up all of the pieces. And even if you're successful at picking up every last piece, let's say you were able to take a brand new vacuum and stick it over top of the problem area, the shattered glass, and you're able to suck all of that glass together, okay? And somehow you're able to take one piece and you're able to orchestrate it and put it back together. First of all, it's time consuming to try to put it back together. And then when you put it back together, it's not going to look the same way it did. Even if you do it immaculately, people are going to still be able to see the cuts in the glass from where it fell before. So trust is something that is fragile, but it's something that's standard. It's something that's standard for all of us. Like when we walk past each other, and the problem with society is people think that trust is something that you have to earn. Like, you got to earn my trust. I ain't giving it to just anybody. No, well, not trust. Yeah. I'm sorry, I had a little blank moment. But trust is something, it doesn't have to be super high, but trust is something that's, not trust. I'm really trying to say the word respect. Respect is something that should come very standard for all mankind, like everybody. When you walk down the street and you see someone, saying hello to them is being respectful. Acknowledgement is being respectful on a basic level. And a lot of people feel like respect is something that you have to earn, or something that you can punk people into doing, or drive people into fear in doing. You don't want that kind of respect. You want natural respect. So if respect is standard, maintaining respect isn't standard. These are the things that you have to do to continue to earn the respect of your peers. So if I walk into a company and this is my boss, right? Day one, he deserves respect for being my boss. But if he or she shows themselves to be or have bad qualities about being the boss, then I will lose respect for this person. And at that point with me, they're in a uphill swim. Now they can say, fine, you don't want to show me respect, I'm getting rid of you. But they're going to have the same problem with no matter who comes in terms of respect. They'll start off with respect, but if they don't have respectable qualities about themselves, then what they're going to end up doing is they're going to end up losing the respect of their peers. And it doesn't even have to be a boss. It can be any type of relationship. It can be an under or over relationship. It can be a relationship where you're looking up to somebody. It can be a relationship where you're looking down on somebody. And I don't mean looking down, but I'm just saying superior, inferior, leader, follower, or whatever the case may be. I guess that's better. I don't like the word inferior, but a leader versus a follower, or even an even keel type thing. That's going to be one of those types of things where respect is something that should be standard to all mankind, no matter how much money or how little money they have, no matter how much they have, no matter how little they have. Respect should be standard. And what maintains the respect is how you move. Keep missing meetings with people and watch what happens. You can't keep not holding your end of the bargain and expect people to rock with you. They're going to rock with you because of what you are doing to continue to maintain. But the moment that you decide that it's not important to maintain is the moment that you start to lose that person, no matter what you call yourselves or what you are to each other by birth. See, because there's the birthright and then there's the scepter. See, the scepter is what's chosen. The birthright is what's inherit. But even you can lose the birthright if you don't handle your business. Just because you're the oldest child doesn't mean that everything that you inherit everything that your parents leave behind. That's the mistake that you make. You have to earn the birthright too by doing and being outstanding as you possibly can be. Or when you come up with monikers, let's just say you have a girlfriend and you call her your sister. Well, guess what? You have a girlfriend and you call her your sister. It's because they were operating in a capacity to make you say, that's not just my girlfriend, that's my sister. But once you put a title on it or whatever the case may be, it shouldn't change the intensity of what you did to earn that title. You have to continue to earn that title. So whether it's the birthright or whether it's the scepter, you have an obligation to maintain what it is, to keep whatever it is that you keep. You can't be good over money and all of a sudden start making poor choices because you amassed a lot of money. You'll be broke before you know it. When you start thinking about those two things, okay, show some respect, have punctuality, okay? And then the third thing, and it's probably the least important, even though we treat it like it's the most important, is the skill. So if you're entering into an agreement with someone, it usually requires a skill set that is desirable for the position of need and expectation. So you owe it to yourself, whether you're good or not, to work on what you're good at, work on what you're bad at, to be a better a better partner for the people that depend on you. And this is tricky because sometimes you will have a God-given skill set and you'll think, well, my skill set is better than most, so I don't have to work on that. I'm just going to just give it. You're cheating the people that depend on you when you have that mindset. If you have a skill set that can help and you're not bringing that skill set to the table, whether it's marriage, whether it's business, whether it's friendship, whether it's siblings, if you have something that you can bring to the table and you stop bringing it to the table, you don't harness, you don't hone in on what skill set you have and try to make it better. If you're even, it's leaving. Just because you're skilled at something today doesn't mean that you don't have to put time into that craft. So this is how you really know what circles you belong to and what circles belong to you. Because when you say, well, that's so time consuming to work on this, work on that. No, when you work on yourself in a purposeful way, it is purposeful to do that so that you can offer up to the people that depend on you, or vice versa. You can offer those things for the betterment of the environments that you operate in. So it's about punctuality, and I'm gonna wrap this up. When you're dealing with somebody, it's about punctuality. Number one. Number two, it's about respect, which they kind of work together. And then it's about your skill or skills. So I know we talked about a lot of things. We talked about what I just said. We talked about staying the course, but it's all intertwined. Because if you stay the course, that's going to dictate the circles that you're in. When you're not on course, you're going to be in circles you ain't supposed to be involved in. And you're going to have people in your life that you aren't supposed to have, or they're going to be out of place. Nothing like taking a person who is seasonal and trying to put them in a forever position. Because what's going to end up happening is when you take a seasonal person and put them in a forever position, once the season is over, they're going to become a liability to themselves or you. So you got to understand who is supposed to be in your life. And I've talked about this. People for a reason, people for a season, people for treason, and people forever. Okay? And you can't make a square peg fit in a round hole. You can't do that. And that's what happens when you take people who are supposed to serve a specific role in your life and you try to make them and give them something that they're not capable of doing. We've all done it. You know, I really like you, so I'll tell you what, I want to put you in this position right here. Wow, really? Thanks. And they can't handle the position. They have punctual issues. They can't handle the position because they have respect issues, or they have issues keeping respect, keeping it respectful, or they don't have the skills for the position. And you think, well, I'll just teach them. No, they have to have at least a seed to work with. They have to have shown you some type of promise in that particular area. I got a friend right now, and my friend, he said to me, man, I want to do insurance. And I said, well, what made you want to do insurance? He was just like, man, you seem like you're doing pretty good in insurance. I want to do good too. So I said, I got that. You want to do insurance and you want to make some good money. I got that. But is that that the only way that you can make money? No. Okay. So that's not the only way you can make money. Hmm. Okay. Let me back up a little bit. Let's say that I have a friend who, oh yes. So let's say this person, my friend wanted to make money. Okay. That was the key. That was the key. The error would have been to just say, okay, this person wants to do insurance and this person wants to make money. Let me just go ahead and put them in doing insurance. Because what would have happened if it wouldn't have worked out? It could have affected our relationship, especially if they felt like I didn't give them the time that they think that they needed to have. And I may not have that time. So what I did with my friend is I said, okay, money. He wants to make money. So I started thinking about what he was good at. And he was good at marketing. And so I said, I have a suggestion. I said, why don't you help me market my insurance? And his whole attitude changed about wanting to do insurance. And what we ended up doing is we did marketing. He would market for me. And when he started marketing for me, I started making money from what he was helping me with marketing. And he started making money from the marketing that he was doing for me. And so, bing, bada, boom, problem solved. He got what he wanted. And I got what I wanted. And that's what we have to evaluate. We have to, when we just allow ourselves to be led by our emotions, we just take it there. We just take it there with people. And so when we start taking it there with people without giving it thought, we put ourselves in bad situations with people that we love. And we don't want to put ourselves in bad situations with people that we love because we need the people that we love. Right? We don't want to damage the relationships that are important to us because we took a person who's supposed to just be our friend and we put them in a bad situation where they can't thrive. Because sometimes when they get in their emotional state and they're not seeing things clearly, they start blaming people and things that shouldn't be blamed. They won't take the accountability always and say, you know what? I wasn't prepared to do that. But they might say, well, you know what? If you had given me more time, I could have did better. You're not my real friend. And now I lost a friend. So sometimes you can't mix, friendships, relationships that you have with people with business. Business can make or break relationships. Now, because this person did some marketing, he did the marketing and I did the insurance and we made a lot of money together. Guess what? That makes him feel good and makes him feel good about me. And that makes me feel good about him. So our relationship was strengthened even more than it was because we didn't have to come out of our elements. And you have an element. If you look at the periodic table, those are elements. And they are designed to do what they're designed to do. And they mix well with certain other chemical compounds, and then they don't mix well with other chemical compounds. You see what I'm saying? So you got to know what your element is. And you got to know the people around you. You got to know their element. And you got to know what mix and what doesn't mix. And you don't have to throw the whole person away because you guys had a bad mix. You just got to realign the mix and say, we can't mix like that, but we can mix like this. But we can't mix like that. That's not going to be good for you, me, or us. So in closing, stay your course. Stay your course because it's going to be people that will come into your life, and you'll have clarity about what that person is supposed to be in your life, and so on and so forth. Sometimes people come into your life and they need clarity, and you are their clarity. And if you love them and you rock with them, you want to put them in the best situation to be successful. And you want the best possible outcomes individually and collectively. So make sure that you are and don't listen to anybody else about what's going on and what comes to you. Don't do that, because nobody understands you. Nobody can understand you. Like, we get this misconception, and a friend of mine said this one time. He said, it's not the understanding, it's the comprehension. They're different. And if it is, you understand what somebody is doing, no, you will never understand another human being. The only person that you can understand is yourself, but you can comprehend what the other human being is doing. And comprehension is very different. Just go look up the definition. Go on Google, look up understanding, and go to Google and look up comprehension. And you'll see the difference. All right. So that's my time. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it was a little all over the place today, but I just believe that certain things happen for a certain reason, and I hope you got what you needed out of this. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you comment this video. Make sure you share, and make sure you subscribe. I'd love for you to develop and go on this journey with you, and hopefully I can take something from you. Maybe I hope you can take something from me, and we can benefit from one another. But we all need each other. So just thanks for your time. If you need to get in contact with me, thoughtofleandre@gmail.com. That's right in the description. Take care.